I found my way into public health primarily because I did not want to be a doctor, but I still wanted to do something health related. I still wanted to do something that impacted communities, impacted individual well-being and community well-being. And so wound up getting my master's in public health. I don't know if that's everyone's public health experience, but I feel like what I learned from it though is that one, resilience. Two, I've just learned a lot about business. I've learned a lot about resiliency. I've learned a lot about faith and belief, not only for myself, I'm also a Christian, so I also believe in God and just the idea of like knowing that He will take care of me, that God will take care of me is very important and has actually helped me a lot with my business as well.
Hi, and welcome to the Real Talk, Real Impact podcast. This is the podcast where we center the voices, lived experiences, and bold ideas shaping the future of public health. I'm your host, Dr. Marissa Robinson, and I'm joined here by Dr. Andrea Lowe. Woo!
Hey, hi everybody.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing well. It is a beautiful Thursday and I'm just excited for the end of the week and just life in general.
Amen. Amen. And it's Friday Eve, some people call it. So we love that. We absolutely love that. And let me go ahead and tell the people a little bit about my girl here because we've been rocking for a few years now together. But y'all, she is the truth. Okay. So let me just give you a little bit of her stats. So Dr. Andrea Lowe owns and operates the Social Impact Studio Consulting LLC, where she flexes her entrepreneurial muscles in service to small to medium nonprofits and state and local government agencies. Her 17-year period health and human services career spans multiple states, working with government agencies, nonprofits, and the private sector on strategic planning, policy, advocacy, coalition management, and program development initiatives. In addition to running her consulting business, she loves to read, play outdoors, and spend time with her friends and family. So, ladies, gentlemen, and siblings, can we give my girl, Dr. Lowe, a warm Real Health Impact welcome? Woo!
Well, thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Dr. Robinson. I really appreciate it.
Yes,
Appreciate the warm
of
welcome.
course. Of course. So, why don't we let our audience know a little bit about your story? How did you end up doing the work that you do today?
Sure. So today as you mentioned, I run Social Impact Studio Consulting with for the last 4 years. And so that actually came across like a weird kind of windy way. I found my way into public health primarily because I did not want to be a doctor, but I still wanted to do something health related. I still wanted to do something that impacted communities, impacted individual well-being and
Mm-hmm.
community well-being. And so wound up getting my master's in public health. I initially thought that I would go into refugee health and do a lot of work with immigrants
Wow.
and because I was actually many years ago before I did my master's, I was doing some work in other countries, working with
Mm-hmm.
refugee and asylum seekers. And I was like, oh, yes, this is the
Mm.
work that I want to do, spend my whole life doing. And that actually never panned out. Couldn't find a job doing that kind of work. I wound up being a
Mm.
epidemiologist and then worked my way around and doing different things. Went up to Pennsylvania, worked for the Department of Health up there, came
Mm-hmm.
back to Virginia, where I'm from, was working there for a while, worked in LA. And it's just honestly been based on things that I loved learning. Like, what did I want to learn?
Yeah.
What did I want to contribute? How did I want to contribute and show up to my community? And then I'd go find a job that allowed me to do that.
I love that. And a lot of us start in the medical field and the sciences field thinking that we're going to be those providers. And then the providership is like, I don't know about all that. Why don't we try something else? But it's no shade to our clinicians, right? We love our clinicians. We love our siblings that are in the healthcare space, but all of us are needed. And I feel like as public health girlies, we get a little bit of everything versus when you go into some of these disciplines, that's all you know. If you go into law, if you go into policy, those are all the like some of these experiences and the trainings that you get and the certifications that you need to get and all of the benchmarks you need to reach are all very specific, very tunnel visioned. And with public health, you kind of have to learn a little bit about a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we have to interface with so many different organizations, so many different clients, so many different entities, because public health matters to, well, it should matter to everyone. However, the jury may still be out if everyone cares about it or not. But I love what you said when you were pivoting, right? You started thinking, okay, I want to do refugee health. I want to do maybe a Doctors Without Border kind of mindset. And then you said, maybe not. And that's so important, I think, because sometimes when we talk about those in public health, a lot of us have had these pivots, right? Of being over here or having these expectations, and then life being like, hey, actually, you're needed in another space or an area, or you find a passion and a joy in another space and area, and that can be okay. And that doesn't have to be found out when you first start undergrad, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I feel like everything, like I feel like we learn and grow with every experience we have, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
a job in our chosen field, if it's a job in our, maybe it's just a job to get some money or whatever. We learn a little bit more about ourselves and what we like and what we don't like. And I think that
Yeah.
just helps us kind of tailor our careers over time. It just turns out beautifully, hopefully, for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. And every closed door is not a no, it's just an opportunity to be realigned. And sometimes, especially right now, for so many people, the ups and downs of job loss, funding
Mm.
cuts, uh, rollbacks in so many different ways, it can be really daunting, especially when you work in government or you've worked at the state and local level. So can you talk about, the long journey that you've had across government, nonprofit, and the private sector? And if you were to look back on the journey, what has it taught you about, you know, the different pathways that you can take of having those experiences under your belt?
Mm. That's a great question. I think honestly, you talked about like funding cuts and job losses and
Mm,
all these things. I've experienced all of those across my
yeah,
entire career
same
where
girl, same girl.
a grant is ending and
Mm-hmm.
that was what was paying me. So now I need to like find another job or I'm being moved over to, or else I'd be moved over to who knows what, or
Right.
losing a job unexpectedly.
Yeah.
All those things, and I feel like that's been the hallmark of probably my public health career. I don't know if that's everyone's public health experience, but um, I feel like what I learned from it though is that one, resilience, two, a little bit of adaptability and flexibility, and
Mm-hmm.
being able to see how I can translate what I'm doing now, what I've done in the past, to what I could do in the future. I've had to do that
Mm-hmm.
several times. So for me, I call myself a public health generalist, but I think
Okay.
also not only kind of like a generalist in public health, but I've had to translate and I've moved my career and had such shifts that I worked in human services, I've worked in child welfare, I've
Mm-hmm.
worked in mental health, I worked in so many different spaces, partially because that was where jobs were available, or
Mm-hmm.
but it also was because I was interested in it and I was able to translate what I could do to those spaces. And I feel like that's something that public health gives us a lot of opportunity for, and something I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have realized like when I was 25 or whatever, 24, 25, getting my degree.
Mm-hmm. And you've talked about being a generalist. And for those who are new to public health or maybe have no idea what a public health generalist is, there's a lot of pressure right now to be experts, right? And to be that niche and find your niche and find your community and your brand and your blah, blah, blah. It's overwhelming sometimes to, especially in public health, because there's so many things that you can talk about and be an expert about. So, how do you become, well, one, let's give our audience a definition or maybe just a brief explanation about what a public health generalist could look like. And then also, how does one be a generalist without being overlooked as not having enough niche or specific expertise?
Mhm. Okay. So I was define for me, a public health generalist is someone who
Mhm.
is a public health professional who's worked, doesn't have a specific niche area. So I
Okay.
can't go out and say I am an HIV/AIDS expert or an environmental health expert. Like there's not one or
Okay.
two specific areas that I
Mhm.
am uh, uh, that I'm an expert in. I guess what is it? I heard it say once like I know a lot about a little bit. I know a lot about a, many different, or I know a few things about very
Many different things.
many different things. Yes, thank you. I'm
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
mixing it up.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
know
I
I know
know,
the quote you're talking about.
yes, I know a few things about many things. So,
Yes.
and I think that's to me what a public health generalist is. Would I say that I've set myself out and started out to be a generalist? No, it just kind of happened that way across my career that I had
Mhm.
opportunities that could bring me to different spaces. And
Mhm.
ultimately, I just kind of know a little bit about a lot of things. But I think what
Yeah.
makes that really great is that because of that, I know a lot of people who are experts in very specific fields, having
Yep.
worked with folks or needing to work with folks or needing to learn very quickly about a subject in order to communicate it to policymakers or work on it for my projects. So it's allowed me to almost be a connector across so
Mhm.
many different areas and be able to know how and in the right time to bring different people in to support a project and make it so much better.
Wow. And you're almost as if we're thinking about the body, you're the connective tissue, right? You're that in between that gives the joints the support that they need, and you connect different parts of different entities, which I think is a great analogy for a lot of public health practitioners. And especially when you're a generalist, you're like, hey, I know a lot about a whole lot, but if you need a specific expert, I got just the person for you, but I can also give you that general idea of what you're looking for. And then I think also you hit it on the head with public health. You don't always have to have a niche, and sometimes it can feel like you have to, but
Hmm.
you actually don't. And specifically when you're in school and you're learning about public health, there's so many things that may pique your interest. And I'm always telling mentees of mine, you should explore as much as possible
Hmm.
and figure out what you don't want to do, right? What you don't want to be your niche, what you don't want to be your career. So then when you graduate, or then when you go to your internship that you loved or that you hated, you take that experience with you and you apply it to what you have set out for your future.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense because I think honestly, even your first couple of years out, you're just learning. You're learning the workforce. You're
You're just
learning
a sponge.
so maybe it's not in your area of interest and that's okay, but you're
Mm-hmm.
gaining those skills that can take you into whatever you want to do. So whether that is
Yep.
become an expert in a particular area or it's, be a little bit more of a generalist like myself. But yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
take that time, learn everything you can about something
Yeah.
or many things because you never know when
Yep.
it comes back later and how it can help you
Mm,
or help your organization.
yeah. And it's harder to replace somebody that knows a lot of things versus just one thing.
Yeah.
Like if we're being honest, because if you're expendable, you don't want to be expendable. So figuring out how to make yourself competitive against your coworkers and those that are also in your field, thinking about what's going to set you apart is so important because there's only one you on this earth, but yet there's a lot of different people that do public health. So
Hmm.
what's going to make you special? Yes, you can get certifications. Yes, you can have different experiences. And yes, you can have a great personality. But what do you bring to the table that somebody else that's also a public health practitioner can also bring? And what's unique about you that nobody else can do? Now, again, if you can say, I can talk a lot about a lot of different things, cool. If you're a subject matter expert, hey, my focus is this, and that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm going to be 10 toes down on, great. There is needs for all of these things, and you just have to find the best place for you, especially in public health. And I love what you said about kind of being a generalist and that it's helped you in all of your different gamuts of your career. because public health doesn't look linear, right? It doesn't, you look across people's trajectories in the field, and you could have somebody who's a public health lawyer. You could
Mm-hmm.
have a public health physician. You could have a public health practitioner. You could have a public health education specialist. You could have, there's so many different ways that you can apply it to your daily practices. And I would love to talk a little bit more about working with organizations and building your own consulting business, because little fun fact for our listeners and our viewers. So Dr. Lowe and I got matched up during a mentorship and mentee program through the National Association of Doctors for Public Health, which I serve as the vice president of. And Andrea and I got matched
Yeah.
together. And it's so funny to think that that's where our relationship kind of started. But I was mentoring her about the DrPH and how to get through school and trying to be a soundboard for her. And now she is successfully graduated from Loma Linda. Woo! And I'm so excited and proud of her. But she is one of the people that I turned to when I was launching my consulting firm. And so, as somebody who has been in the consulting game for several years now, I think you are one of the subject matter experts that can share, okay, this is not business as usual with the current environment. And there are so many changes that we are trying to navigate right now. And so many people have turned to creating consulting firms, hello, me being one of them, because of being displaced, losing a job, or just having a reduction in the amount of funds or levels of staffing and all the things. So can you tell our audience a little bit about what motivated you to start your consulting firm, and even taking it a step further to say what you've learned about yourself in this entrepreneurial life?
I love that question, and I'm so glad you asked that. Like honestly, so I've been consulting for the last 4 years. We're actually coming up on our fourth anniversary in July, so really
Happy
excited.
birthday!
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're a toddler now, or post
Yeah,
toddler, something like that.
right.
Um, but I actually kind of, the year prior to that, I was still working my state job. And I had a friend who was really, they were kind of giving up their branding, their website, everything. They wanted to give it to someone who was interested in carrying on kind of the name of their organization, if not the types of services. And she did slightly different services than me. And I was like, you know what? I love it. I love the colors. I love the branding. I love the name. I'm going to take it. I was like, one day I'm going to own a consulting firm. I don't know when it's going to be. At some
Mm-hmm.
point, it's going to happen.
You
So whole,
manifested it.
whole year before I even started the business, I sat on it. I just paid for the domain fees for a year while I was working on my consulting job. And then my partner, he got a job that moved us to a different state. So I needed to leave my
Mm-hmm.
state job. And that was a great opportunity. Actually presented a lot of mm, like a lot of decision making back and forth of whether or not I should start my consulting firm or if I should try to
Mm-hmm.
find a job there or a remote job. There were a lot more remote roles back then because it was still kind of post-COVID. Actually, I got my first contract before any of those other roles came through. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start the business. So I just got the LLC up
Listen.
and was like, I'll just start the website. And I was like, we'll just see how this goes.
Right, right. We building it as we fly, girl.
Exactly, exactly. I probably, I know there's a lot of other people who are like, oh, I got the business plan, and they spend a lot of time thinking about it and all this other stuff. I really
Girl.
had like 3 days. So like I was like, what legally do
Three
I need
days
to
and
get
a
out?
plan. Listen, you had a
Everything
will.
still here, and I'm so happy and so excited.
Yeah.
And I really love it. For this stage of my life, this is perfect for me. Like I
Mm-hmm.
younger me, probably not. I started a little business like many years ago. I was probably like 30 or something, and I didn't put the effort into it. It just kind of sat
Mm-hmm.
there. I closed it. This stage of life, I love it. But it is a lot of hustle, as you know, Marissa. There's a lot of hustle
Mm-hmm.
involved. It is not, it
Yeah.
is not easy, I would say. It's not like, oh, all of a sudden I can like all this money's just gonna magically come in and I can go sit on the beach and, just go and work 2 hours a day. that does not happen instantly. I'm four
No.
years in, that's still not happening. Sometimes I'm
Hey,
working
that's the
later.
goal, though. That is the goal. We love that.
Yes, not there
Make your
yet.
salary in 2 hours.
Not there yet. But I mean, I do have more flexibility in my time. So, like, if I do
Mm-hmm.
want to, go and do something for 4 hours and then come back and work late at night, I can do that kind of thing, which is different than working for a state government. So
Right.
there's trade-offs, but
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
love it. I've just learned a lot about business. I've learned a lot about resiliency. I've learned a lot about faith and
Mm-hmm.
belief, not only in myself, but I mean, for myself, I'm also a Christian, so I also believe in God, and just the idea of knowing that He will take care of me, that God will take care of me, is
Mm.
very important, and has actually helped me a lot with my business as well, and just really being able to grow as a person in a different way than I
Yeah.
would if I was continuing to work like more in for someone else in more of an established full-time W-2 position.
Wow. And that, I hope our audience is, she's dropping gems, y'all. So I hope y'all are taking notes. But I love how you framed this not only as a journey, but also as you're not done yet.
Mm.
And sometimes when we start something at the wrong time, it's not going to work out because that wasn't the plan. That wasn't the intention. But if you're seeking an opportunity like to start your own consulting firm, be know that it is not something that happens overnight. Success doesn't happen overnight, and it's still a job. It still requires a lot of hard work, a lot of time organization, a lot of relationship building,
Yeah.
a lot of skills. It still is just as cumbersome as a 9 to 5, but it's almost even more cumbersome because you never turn it off. So you are your own boss of your hours, but that also means that you could be up late at night doing things because you're a CEO now, because you're also expected to deliver on certain deliverables that someone sought after your services for. So I don't think folks should equate easy with consulting,
Mm-mm.
but I think there is a level of freedom that you would never be able to get if you were working under someone else. And so being your own boss is a gift. And yet there are still a lot of challenges and there's still a lot of growth and there's still some things that I'm still learning. And we're going to hit a year at the end of this
Woo!
month. So,
Yay!
so it's still very much infancy for me, and having a startup and kind of really walking by faith and not by sight is truly something that I have done. And I'm so glad that I did it. And I'm so glad I like, all right, we're doing this thing, Andrea. We're going for it.
Yeah.
I remember when I was like, I think this is what I'm going to call it. I think this is what I'm going to do. And this was before we knew that the end was definite. Like this was that we were still maybe flirting with the idea of we still had the 9 to 5 in the back pocket. But for those who are also in a season of rebirth and kind of figuring things out for themselves, consulting is something that you should look into and explore. And it is a highly competitive market right now. So if you are doing the work, you need to come and bring it. Don't
Mhm.
don't just do it lackluster. Don't do it just because you want to try something new. Do it because you're passionate about it and find a gap that you can fill.
Mhm.
And so that would be my advice to our audience here. But do you have any advice for somebody who might be thinking the same?
Sure, and I would actually bring it back to something you mentioned earlier about finding almost your when you're going into full-time work, when you're working in your career, really finding that unique aspect that you can bring to your
Yeah.
organization, to your job. You need to do the same thing when it comes to consulting because there are, ton of public health consultants out there who do the
Yep.
same things like
Yep. Yep.
strategic planning or training or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
community health assessments,
Capacity building,
capacity, like every
technical
those,
assistance. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And some are subject matter experts in particular areas. Some are more generalists. There's tons of us out there. But what is it that
Right.
you uniquely can bring? Thinking on the experiences that you have had, and don't limit yourself to your professional experiences. Your personal experiences matter as well because
Yeah.
those can be what helps connect that organization to you and helps
Mm-hmm.
bridge that relationship so that you can wind up getting the contract or getting the job. So it's a lot of things that are very similar and parallel that you can bring to both areas of your life, whether you're seeking a job or you're consulting.
I love that. And can we talk a little bit about the online membership community that you're launching? Because I feel like for our small nonprofits in the world, they are sometimes the stepchild. They don't get all the love that some of our big corporations get, and they should, especially when you're small. And I will say this as a small business owner myself, sometimes you don't get the opportunities, you don't get the visibility, you don't get to be on at the front and on stage and doing all the things and traveling and going to all the expos and whatever it is. So, can you talk about what gap you're hoping to fill with this community and what challenges are our nonprofit leaders facing right now that inspired you to create it?
Sure. So, really, the gap that I'm trying to fill for this community is this ongoing opportunity to receive consulting services, not just from myself, but also their peers. So, one of
Mhm.
the things why I'm so passionate about ultras, like these are the ultra small nonprofits, the ones that
Mhm.
maybe you just started, you got like $1,000 a year, you're not even yet paying yourself, or maybe it's just you're the only employee, or maybe you're just a community leader. You haven't even started a nonprofit yet, but you're just doing some programs
Mhm.
in your community. This is for you. And it's designed that way because that's where I got my start with. Actually, my consulting start was working with very small nonprofits, doing strategic plans
Mm.
for like just like pennies, just to like, one to help build my own resume, but also just because I just have such a passion for these organizations. They're doing so much
Yeah.
grassroots work, but they often can't afford high quality consultant services. And sometimes just talking with their leaders, they also feel a little bit alone as well and feel a little lonely.
Mm.
They don't have a lot of people they can just even
Wow.
throw ideas at and brainstorm
Right.
with. And so I've had a lot of like just brainstorming conversations with folks, just to be like, oh, like
Mm.
I'm thinking of doing this for my program. What do you think? And I'll just throw that out. So this community is for them, so they can come in. We can do it at scale, not just having me there, but then also other members as well. So it's designed where we have monthly office hours. Every other month, there's a daytime one, and then there's an evening one. And then
Mhm.
they can ask and share, challenges, questions, things like that in our chat feature, kind of message board area where not only myself and my team, but also other members can answer. And then we've also got a set of toolkits and guides designed specifically for small nonprofits in that community as well. And they're around each of our areas of expertise, which is strategic planning, program development, operations sustainability, data analysis, and policy and advocacy. And so we're continuing to build out those
Wow.
resources. They include like even like spreadsheets that you can take and use, or just links to different areas. It describes different
Mhm.
things, everything that you need to know. So it becomes really a one-stop shop that you can get just really that
Wow.
ongoing support that often we need to be able to scale our programs.
Mm.
Oh,
Come on. That
can I mention one more thing? Also, it's just $30 a month.
absolutely.
So I tried
Yes.
to price it so that anyone could be able to join, anyone could afford it, whether they're at the organization level or an individual
Mhm.
working on their own, mostly because of the funding issues that have been going on in the sector for the last year and a half, two
Yes.
years.
And
Um,
cuts.
yes, and cuts,
Yep.
and
Yes.
how that's hitting larger nonprofits and medium-sized nonprofits who have an infrastructure to get grants, how much more it's helping or hurting our small and ultra small nonprofits. So feel free to
Right.
check it out on my website. You could also reach out to me if you have questions. I'm happy to jump on a call and talk with anyone who's interested in learning more.
And I mean, you are a rock star. You're doing this work and you saw that there was a problem and that you wanted to try and address it head on. And I'm so proud of you because I know that this is one of your babies that you've been working on. And
Yes.
so to see it come to fruition, and I hope that some of the listeners out there and viewers out there will definitely take you up on that offer and try to find you and reach out. So as we get ready to close, I would love to kind of share, if you can, because I asked all my guests this, but where does public health show up in your work, even behind the scenes? Can you share with our audience where some atypical places that public health show up?
Sure. One of the things that I think is really a key aspect of public health is connection and building connection within your community. And that also includes your team. And I feel
Mm,
like, and so being able to, I have a data analyst who's on my team, I have an assistant, but then also um, the other consultants that I get a chance to work with, because I collaborate often with others and my clients as
yes.
well, being able to foster those relationships, both personally and professionally, has been one way that I
Mm-hmm.
feel like public health shows up because seeing my, our team, and I don't want to say my as if they belong to me, but the teams that I'm part of as part of my communities, as part of ones that I get to contribute to, has really helped, helped us to grow, help us to
Mm-hmm.
not only personally, but also professionally as well. So, and that to me is one way that public health shows up behind the scenes.
I love that. And so many people overlook networking and relationship building, but that really, your network is your net worth. And I love that quote because it's true. If you're not using your networks and creating relationships and building upon those relationships and finding new ways to meet new people, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Mhm.
Have you ever heard that quote? Like,
Yes,
you got to
yeah,
challenge yourself. Yeah.
yeah.
Like, we need to be learning from individuals that know more than us, that are different subject matter experts in other places and spaces. And that's how you learn and that's how you grow. And I love that you said that you really do need to build relationships and network because that is an overlooked quality because sometimes it's who you know. It's not necessarily about what you know. And sometimes those closed doors conversations where you speaking at the water cooler, or you speaking in the hallway at a conference, or you're just shooting your shot in someone's DMs, uh, uh, from a works perspective, not relationship. Now, this is not that kind of podcast. Um, but when you shooting
Real
yourself in
talk.
the DMs, right. That's a different podcast. But here, shooting your shot in the DMs for a job opportunity or an informational interview can land you potentially a role that was never open to the public to begin with. And
Mhm.
I love the thought of really pushing yourself outside your comfort zone and trying to learn from individuals who have different expertises and have been in the game longer than you you can learn from their mistakes or you can learn from their best practices and take that and apply it to what you're doing. So as we get ready to close, can you share with our audience how they can find you and some of the links or social media websites that you have?
Sure. So you can find me. Our website is socialimpact.studio. We have all our social media links on there. Probably the easiest one to say out loud is our Instagram account is at Social Impact Studio Consulting, all like one word. But you can also contact us through the website. You can also email us at info@socialimpact.studio as well. And we all will respond quickly, and I look forward to connecting with folks because I feel like that's such a key part of being human and
Mm-hmm.
being on this planet together. And I look forward to our future work, collaborations, partnerships, or just getting to know each other as well. So feel free to reach out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Lowe. So, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for this wonderful conversation on Real Talk, Real Impacts. So, keep showing up, keep asking questions, and keep pushing for better. And until next time, we'll see you. Thanks, guys.
Bye.